Today's meeting of the Transportation Licensing Commission. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon. Pursuant to the provisions of Section 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, notice is hereby given that if you are not satisfied with a decision made by the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. Mr. Fields has circulated last month's commission meeting minutes. Is there a motion regarding those minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The minutes have been approved. We have a special announcement we would like to make at this time regarding one of Nashville's own taxi drivers, and I'll turn it over for special recognition to Rhonda.
Hello, I'd like to invite Mr. Goma. Commission, several years ago, the Nashville Convention and Visitors Bureau created a program where guests in our city could nominate people who have provided to them exemplary service and please come, exemplary service and have gone over and above to provide the service to our guests. And I'd like to congratulate Mr. Jama, and I'd like to read to you an excerpt or a summary of the nomination that was submitted in May. Nancy Verbick of Pennsylvania brought a friend to Nashville for her birthday. She was excited about showing a friend who had never been to Nashville why she loved it so much. When they arrived at the airport, they got into a cab, went to their hotel, and checked in. Nancy realized that she left her backpack in the cab, which contained money, personal items, including a bracelet her husband gave her. She went back to the airport to track down her bag. Remembering the color of the cab, she was able to narrow it down to what company the driver worked for. She got security at the airport to let her watch the video and then figured out what the number cab was that she had gotten into. Unfortunately, the driver of the cab was not answering his phone and could not be located. Mr. Jama, the cab driver she was with and the one that she is nominated in May, ended up taking her back to her hotel after she had given up looking for her backpack. He told her that he would make a few calls and pray for her to find her bag. She couldn't say enough about how understanding he was and how helpful he was. She gave him her telephone number, and he promised to call her if he found out any news. About 15 minutes later, Mr. Jama came back to the hotel to tell Nancy that he found her bag. The cab company knew Mr. Jama had taken her back to the hotel, so they called him to see if she was still in his cab. He drove her back to meet the driver who had her backpack, and it was returned to her with everything in its place. To quote Nancy, "That day I fell in love with Nashville even more." Congratulations, and I want to thank you for showing true Southern hospitality to our guests who are visiting here tonight.
By the way, he works for Nashville Cab.
Taxi USA Nashville.
Well, taxi.
Taxi USA. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say that.
This afternoon, we have a public hearing on a request to transfer an emergency wrecker zone currently operated by West Nashville Wrecker. Mr. Fields?
Yes, sir. Dad's Towing Service has entered into an agreement to purchase West Nashville Wrecker Company. The zone is assigned to the company and is not necessarily transferable with the sale of the company. They have made an application for that. and would like to be heard. There'd been another application that was withdrawn. So Dad's Wrecker would like to appear and request to operate the emergency zone currently operated by West Nashville, and I brought the map over for you to be able to see it, plus you have small maps in front of you to refer to.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Is there a representative from Dad's Towing Service here regarding the application?
And Mr. Chairman, I believe that United Road Towing that's actually making the sale to Mr. Mitchell, as well as Larry Boggs, who's the manager of West Nashville, would also like to speak as a part of this.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Jim Mitchell with Dad's Towing, and of course what we're requesting is the transfer of the zone from West Nashville to Dad's Towing. Our intentions are to maintain the zone just as is. All employees will stay, dispatchers as well as management. Mr. Larry Boggs will continue as manager. The good part about this transaction is all the money now will stay into Davidson County rather than being transferred to another state. One of the most positive parts of it. Absolutely nothing will change. Our intentions are to continue to operate West Nashville as it has been operated, one of the strongest tow companies in the area, and make it even stronger and better if any way possible. We'd appreciate y'all considering the transfer, and I'm sure you will continue to operate it very professionally. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fields, you mentioned there were others that would like to speak.
Mr. Bergeron, I think, is also here from United Towing Service, as well as Larry Boggs, who's the current manager. I think they would just like to, I think he'd like to confirm that the sale is actually happening.
Good afternoon. My name is George Bergeron. I'm the Senior Vice President from United Road Towing, and naturally in favor of trying to transfer the zone from West National Wrecker, which we own, to Dad's Towing. I'd just like to tell you guys that we've done an extensive background check on Dad's Towing. They seem to be a very reputable company. I've been in town a few times and met Jim Mitchell, and he walked me around to his operations, and I think you guys should be very proud of Jim. He runs multiple businesses here, keeps all the taxes in the city, runs a great operation. Was very impressed with Jim. And also Jim had told us, just as he told you people, that he intends to keep all the employees from West Nashville. Larry Boggs will continue being the general manager of the site, and we're in favor of the transfer.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thanks.
Thank you.
And Mr. Boggs, if he asked to speak.
Hi, I'm Larry Boggs. I'm general manager for the last 7 years for West Nashville Wrecker. Flew helicopters for the Army 25 years before that, and I pretty well found a place and a home, and this is where we're going to be. In negotiations with Jim Mitchell, if he does get to that, I'm staying right where I'm at. You'll never know West Nashville ever moved. And as you know, we're one of the larger wrecker services, and we're the kind of the hinge pinch of the heavy duty recoveries, and have done a lot of training classes. And I don't know any of y'all made it. The other ladies that were on it has come. But nothing will change. Nothing will move. We'll just keep doing exactly what we've been doing for the years in the past. Any questions of me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fields, has there been any complaints or anything from the police department with regards to that West Nashville emergency zone?
No, in fact, I invited the ECC and the police to appear at the meeting if they had any concerns, and both have declined. So they're pleased with not only this, but the entire emergency wrecker situation right now. I'm not sure if there's anyone else that would want to speak.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the application of Dad's Towing Service to operate the West Nashville zone? At this time, we'll close the public hearing on the request for the transfer of the emergency wrecker zone, and now the commission can deliberate the application.
I don't see a reason not to approve this.
I don't either. I'll make a motion. I move for the approval of the application to transfer the West Nashville Emergency Zone to Dad's Towing Services, Inc.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have another public hearing. It's our annual Emergency Wrecker Zone Assignment hearing. Mr. Fields?
Every year, the Metropolitan Code of Law requires that the Transportation Licensing Commission host a meeting to consider any changes, any modifications of the emergency record zone assignments. The emergency record zone assignment is primarily built to provide the police instant call to a scene of an accident, to provide cleanup of the streets and removal of any of the damaged vehicles. The assignments are shown on the map to your left. You also have the smaller maps in front of you. This is the one time of the year you can do it. You can do it other times, but this is the one time of the year where we ask the record companies to be available to speak if you want to hear from them and if they want to be heard, and make any requests for changes. You have one request for changes in there, and that's from Chapman's. That's the only formal request. But you have the authority to make changes, and this is the appropriate time to consider any changes. From today, you have actually 30 days to, technically under the law, you can take anything under advisement today, and you have 30 days to make those changes.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. I'll take, I've got a list of the company assignments here, and I'll take them in order. I realize Chapman's has requested a change, but I'll go ahead and take them in order of my list here. A.B. Collier Record Service.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
I'm Robert Dunn, General Manager, A.B. Collier Record Service. A.B. Collier Record Service has been in Nashville since 1929. My brother David has owned it for nearly 10 years now. We're located in South Nashville. You can tell by the map there. David's had 36 years experience in the towing business right here in Nashville. I myself have got 38 years experience in automotive business management. I've been a record permit holder for Metro since 1977. Our older brother Russell is our business manager. He was the personnel director at Tulane University before he retired. So we feel like we've got adequate management. We've got over 100 years experience in management if you combine all three. We've got a team of professional drivers that are not only racially diverse, but they've all been certified not only by RecMaster, but they've all been federal, FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency certified in IS 100 and IS 700. Our dispatchers have been certified in FEMA 704. We take you're letting us operate this zone very seriously. Our zone is the one that they're making a request to take part of. We hope that as you review this, you will take everything in consideration. We have over 20 vehicles that are satellite tracked at all times. We've got, in live time, we can see where our trucks are at any time. Our office looks like a control center. We've got monitors surrounding our dispatcher. We monitor TDOT, we monitor their cameras, we monitor Metro's rec. We also monitor their weather channel. We feel like we go above and beyond to service you guys. We have no complaints. I think Billy will confirm. We get along great with the police department. I really hope you don't let someone take part of our zone. We've got security. When we tow a car in, we've got 24/7, 365. There's always someone live at A.B. Collier. We've got security cameras. We've got 2 fences. We've got a 6-foot cyclone fence and a 6-foot metal fence. People's property could not be safer. I've got other things to say, but I'm nervous as I'll get out sitting up here talking to you because we're the only ones here today that could lose something. But we've done you one hell of a job, and we appreciate, you guys, giving a lot of consideration before you take something from us. And one more thing. February last year, we had a multi-car pile up on 65 North. 9 cars. From the time A.B. Collier, I'll put my hand in my pocket, I'm going to be pointing to everyone out. By the time when we got the call, within 42 minutes, we cleared 9 vehicles and cleaned the scene. please don't consider taking our zone and giving it to somebody who only has 3 trucks and only one of them will haul 2 cars. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. We'll go ahead and hear from Chapman's Wrecker Service. At this time, is Mr. Graham here?
Appreciate it. Hi, I'm Chris Graham at Chapman's Wrecker Service. Me and my father own Chapman's for about 11 years now, and it just, since we've had it, not much has changed in our zone other than we lost a little bit of harding. The main reason behind us asking, we have one of the smallest zones in town, as you can see from the map. So we're trying to get it evened out a little bit. Even what I've asked for isn't going to come close to trying to even out our zone with anybody else. It makes it hard for us to hire somebody at nighttime. It's me and my father. We run 24/7, sleep at nighttime in between calls. So we try to do the best we can with what we have. So far, we haven't really had an issue. The main reason as to why I have asked for what I have asked for, there's really no good place to start with asking. At some point, you just have to pick somewhere and start. As far as the piece of Martin's zone that I've asked for, they actually have to cross through our zone to get to that part. I don't know if you can see it on the map or not, but either they have to go down Lebanon Road and come back through Tommy's, or they have to go through our zone to get to it, and we stop right there at Massman. Do we see a lot of action? No, because we actually live in that area too. There's really very rarely anything go on, but I think that's just kind of one of those situations that it's kind of crazy that they have to come through us. As far as A.B. Collier's zone goes, like I said, there's no good place to start. That's what I chose to go with, and hopefully y'all will consider us. Looking at your map, you can't really see the streets. I have one of the older maps that's been redone that actually shows every street, and the next person that even comes close to our size would be Smith's, but if you look at the street congestion, I mean, they have 3 times more streets that they cover than what we do. So,
Mr. Graham, you gave out a handout to the commission before the meeting to Mr. Fields, and there are some maps attached to that handout. Can you point to what sections you're seeking to add to your...
Actually, I have some big maps that show it a little bit better in color with all the streets. Can I grab those and kind of show you real
Yes.
quick?
This is what he's asking for, this piece over here, because Chapman has to go through this to get to that, go through.
You mean A.B. Collier?
He has to go through Chapman's here to get to this, but not to get to this. So this is really the only piece that.
But he's asking for that too?
Right. I think so.
This is the current A.B. Collier map, and this is the current Chapman.
Wait, I just want to ask you something. A.B. Collier is here, and this is A.B. Collier, and this is A.B. Collier. So Chapman is saying that A.B. Collier has to go through there to go there?
That's a difference. Yeah, that's Martin's zone.
Oh, that's Martin.
This is the old map. It shows a little more in detail on the streets as far as, but as you can see, we have one of the smallest zones. If you can see that we're in the gray. So, I mean, we just don't have a whole lot of streets, so it makes it hard for us to maintain, to have an extra person to even work nighttime.
And what are you looking to,
What I'm asking for.
what are you asking for?
Is
Let me see
everything
both.
that's highlighted in the yellow.
Okay.
And that's, like I said, that if you feel like it should be less or more, I'm not going to argue. I mean, we would like to just try to even it out a little bit, if at all possible. I mean, in all fairness, I really think that y'all should probably maybe take a look at trying to rezone all of Nashville to even it out a little bit more, if that's a possibility. I know in the past a couple people have said it was a good idea to do, but.
Mr. Graham, I have a question. You've got 2 pieces of property there that are in the yellow.
Yes, sir.
The larger one, that belongs to A.B. Collier right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the smaller one up to my
Part of
right,
Martin's.
that's Martin, okay.
Yes, sir.
That's actually an arrow on my part. It is Martin.
Okay.
Like I said, as far as Martin's,
Who are you talking about had to go through somebody else's
Right.
zone in
in
order to
Martin's,
get to it?
it's right here, where we
Yeah.
cut off is actually from Arlington, which is where our shop is, down Elm Hill Pike. That's all of
Okay.
Elm Hill right there is ours. Until you get to the river, right at Massman, and then they pick up. So they have to come down Elm Hill, which is our zone, to get to that part of the zone, or they have to come through Lebanon Road and go into Tommy's zone.
Because Mill Creek cuts off that little part of that
It cuts
zone
off.
there, yeah.
They have the north side of Elm Hill, and we have the south side of Elm Hill.
All right.
And it's even on A.B. Collier's, there's a section right here where Blanton is, right off of Murfreesboro Road. They have to come into our zone to get to that part too. See that?
Yeah.
That's where that comes out.
Other than wanting parity in size, is there any data or statistics to give us an idea of whether your smaller size may actually still produce the same number of tows and revenue as does the bigger ones? Because this is a very diverse county. If you got up there in the northwest part, you may only get a few tows. I don't know the business, so do you have anything you can give me some guidance as to how it is in parity with revenue?
Without having everybody that has a zone to pull those figures, and I don't have a problem with it as long as everybody else would be willing to show what they actually tow for their zone, how many call volumes is.
Is it true you have only 3 trucks?
Yes, sir.
And it's
At
just
the
your
moment,
dad and you?
It's just me and my father, and I have a couple other people that help out part-time whenever we need it,
Okay.
just so one of us can go out of town or vacation. We've known it for 11 years, and in 11 years, it's kind of hard with just 2 people, even to be able to go on vacation. I mean, I've got 2 kids. I've got almost a 10-year-old and almost a 3-year-old. And for 11 years, since we've had the zone, I've had those kids, and it makes it hard for me to go do anything because I have to be around. And it's not, we don't do a high enough call volume after hours to even hire somebody to pay to even break even.
Do you have anything that would show that increasing your zone actually solves those problems you're mentioning?
Nothing in writing other than just, like I said, if people wanted to get together a call volume, I don't have a problem with showing you how many calls I do. As far as showing you something today that would make a difference on it, I don't know what they do in that part of their zone.
How'd you select these particular pieces of zones to ask for today?
Just, like I said, that there wasn't any good. I looked at a couple different options. I looked at possibly going with part of Cotton's, or there's no good where, I mean, at some point you just have to find somewhere and start. I just randomly said, okay, well, this was close to our office, so
I
it
wonder
still
why
keeps
you
us.
weren't going maybe southeast into Cotton's instead.
If the congestion in the streets right there at A.B. Collier, they actually have more streets right in that area, and it's right near our office too. So it's still centrally located within 5 minutes of our office. The farther south I go, it's farther away from my office, so I have to fight that much more traffic to go. If I have to go to Cotton's, it may take me 15 minutes to get to what I would ask for there, as opposed to 5 minutes to get to what I would ask for in A.B. Collier's.
How long have you had this business?
11 years.
And in the 11 years ago, when you started the business, you knew that this was going to be your territory, right? That
Yes,
this was
ma'am.
going to be your zone.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Fields, do I understand correctly that we're talking about emergency zones? So, and that's where when the police make a decision, or when the police come upon a situation and they make a call, there's a preference to go with who has that particular zone.
Yes.
That does not limit Chapman from being called by other stranded motorists to come to a different zone.
Correct. You can go anywhere in the city on a private call. Even on an emergency wreck, unless the owner of the vehicle actually has the right to ask for any wrecker company at any wreck, regardless of the police. Police have final authority, but typically its owner request is honored.
Okay. I'm kind of at a loss as to understanding how this is actually going to impact financially or number of calls, however you measure it, by these particular zones you're asking for. And maybe that's not available, but we're talking about very limited, or we're talking about a limited situation of when the police are making a call based upon an emergency versus if I have a problem over in Mike's zone, I could call him.
I have plenty of good accounts during the daytime. The daytime isn't so much the problem. Is at nighttime, there's days when I might go, 2 or 3 days and not work a single wreck at nighttime or a single tow into the towing ladder. Phone may not even ring, but then there's other times I may run, 5, 6, 7 at nighttime. And I still operate during the daytime along with working at night on call. So if I could just get even 1, 2 calls at nighttime extra from the police department or whatever, I don't want to go out and at the moment and try to get a bunch of business for me and my father to have to sit there and work that much more at the moment. This would help out just a little bit more as far as trying to get somebody to help me at nighttime to where I'm not on call 24/7.
2 areas you're trying to add, part of Martin's, part of A.B. Collier's. Have you seen a higher level of accidents there that you would actually get calls on the emergency zone from the police?
No, let's just say I don't have any statistics as to a call volume that they do. I didn't call them.
Well, you say you live close to the area and just driving by in the last 11 years. Have you seen much? I mean, is it worth it?
The 440, part of 440 right there that I asked for, part of A.B. Collier's, that's a gray area where we get calls sometimes that aren't in our zone, or vice versa, because it's kind of a cutoff area. So, I mean, there is a higher call volume right there at 24, which is the cutoff for that area. As far as the Elm Hill Pike, is it going to affect me on the Elm Hill Pike? I've lived there for 30 years, actually on Elm Hill Pike. In that zone, I've lived for 30 years. And in that 30 years, I've seen maybe 5 or 6 wrecks. That, of course, that's just when I happen to be around to see them. So it's just the fact that they really have to literally come into somebody else's zone to, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's kind of crazy when you have to cross through somebody else's to cover something that is yours.
I understand that you'd like to increase your business. I'm just trying to, how can I justify taking some of someone else's and giving it to you? I'm having a hard time justifying that, how I can take some of that area away from A.B. Collier and just remove it and take it, and they're doing a good job there, and just taking it away from them and giving it to someone else. I'm having a hard time justifying that.
We do a fantastic job with our zone too. You can ask any of our officers and that we work with on a daily basis, and they all would do anything for us as we would for them. I mean, I would take care of it just as good as they do. And if you had something else in mind as far as trying to even something out.
Do you have any data that would help us in making a decision, like you're closer to that particular area that you're seeking to annex than Martin or A.B. Collier, or that you would be able to respond more quickly?
As far as the Martin's section, I could respond to. I am closer. My office is between that area and Martin's office. Plus, also, like I said, we actually live in that neighborhood right there. Not that makes a difference, but and then is A.B. Collier's. Parts of what I've asked for out of A.B. Collier's, our office is literally 2 blocks from it, as opposed to where they're probably 3 miles from it. Without dropping a pin drop on the map or something to try to show you where we are in.
Anything else, Mr. Graham?
I guess that's it. I appreciate your time.
Any other questions?
Is someone here from Martin's?
Yeah, I'm about to ask. Thank you, Mr. Graham. I'd like to ask someone from Martin's Wrecker Service to come forward. Hi.
Chairman, let me apologize. I'm not sure how I missed this on the map, but I missed this on the map, and I apologize. I was looking at the maps, and that was your, so
Hi.
she was not advised, and that's my fault.
Hi, I'm Maggie Martin, and I'm just learning of this as well as y'all are just now. So,
Really?
honestly, with that being said, I don't know. I have a map of actually Martin's zone. Here's where my building is, which is right smack in the middle from one end to the other. A little bit this way more than it is this way. On the big map here, I'm the dark green, which is not a lot bigger, or excuse me, yeah, not a lot larger than what Mr. Chapman is also asking of. Kind of been thrown in the fire and not prepared to even discuss this. I know that we don't have any problems with our zone. I am new to the business as of 2012, but I've done a good job. I haven't had any problems. I've maintained, the officers, took care of our wrecks, maintained employees and things like that. I'm actually running 3 different companies that are all 3 zone wreckers, Bailey's Wreckers and Bailey's Wrecker Service and Mike's Custom Towing as well. And I would don't think that I wouldn't take it very kindly if you took part of my livelihood away, because I have worked hard and took care and don't have any, complaints as far as I'm aware of it.
How much emergency business is in that little section that Chapman's asking for from you guys?
How much emergency?
Yeah.
Are we talking 24 hours a day? It's
idea?
random. No, I really, without going and pulling data, and you would have to get that from the police department. You might do this many this day, you might do twice as many the next day. So I would say on an average, and I probably could call my secretary who looks at the daily log sheet that might be able to tell you, but I think on an average daily, counting metros and my regular outside and calls, whether it be a breakdown or just one of our customers, probably between 20 and 30 calls a day, 24 hours a day. That's an average. Probably a little high.
But you're including regular calls also.
I'm not including Metro. Well, see, I don't have a breakdown of just
Right.
Metro. I'm just saying total. So, and most of them are probably not Metros. Most of the Metros I get are in the downtown area.
And that's your entire zone?
For Martin's, yes, sir.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I do know that a lot of us cross over each other's zones. The zones are not just completely perfect in your area, so there's several companies. I know I'm not the only company that crosses over and across someone else's zone. That's just the way they were designed, and I don't know when or how long it's been that way. But I kind of feel, I guess I heard the comment from someone on the board a minute ago that if there's not a problem, I don't see that it needs to be fixed, and that's my personal opinion, and I feel like I've taken very well care of Metro without any complaints, so I definitely would hate to lose any of my zones. Whereas I'd like for Chapman's to be able to grow. Maybe he could pick up some more outside contracts or something with other people. There's lots of other options out there. We all compete every day to maintain our customers and to take care of those things. I don't really have anything else to say, I guess, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Fields, procedurally, do we need to continue on with the public hearing and hear from everyone else, or can we pause and deliberate regarding this request by Chapman's? Or
They're procedurally, it's really your procedure to take. Since this is fresh and you'd like to go ahead and discuss it, if the commission would like to discuss it at this point, I think it's appropriate to do that. If you want to move ahead and hear from the other companies, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
all right. I'd like to go ahead and let's deliberate the application from Chapman's since it's fresh on our memory, and then we can proceed with the rest of the public hearing regarding the actual record zone assignments in general. Fellow commissioners, are there any comments or concerns or thoughts about the application from Chapman's?
I don't know if we have the data that we need to analyze the record zones and the emergency calls that are made to even make a decision on whether we were to allocate or reallocate. Obviously, if somebody is getting 400 calls a day and somebody's getting 7, then but we don't have that data. I think the commission can require that to be collected or provided, and if things have changed and traffic patterns have changed over time as development occurs and one zone is much busier than another zone because of the change in traffic, it's something we should look at, and if it affects service, we should look at it. Right now, I don't feel we have the data.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's incumbent on the applicant who's asking for the change to come forth with that kind of information, and not having that information makes the application not insufficient to make a solid decision.
And I guess the applicant wouldn't have the information on the other zones. We would have to request it from all. But I can see where development patterns would cause certain zones to be busier, and parts of the county grow differently than other parts, and traffic patterns change because of that.
Along the lines of what Commissioner Turner said with regards to impacting service, but we don't have police department representation, which means that there's no issues in the service of each zone. And we must look at that also. Just a comment.
When an emergency wrecker is requested by the police department, they have 30 minutes to report. Typically, that's an indicator of any problems. So that's one of the major indicators. All the companies are required to keep the kinds of records that you're requesting. They're required to keep them. The commission several years ago, 20 years ago, when you would have this hearing, they would bring in boxes, some that have been around for a while. They would bring in boxes of records. At some point, the commission, instead of asking for those records to come in, basically said they have to be available for reporting, which is what the ordinance says. It requires a report. So the commission says we will, at the time, this will ask for it when we want it. So they know they have to keep it, and I think Ms. Martin was referring to the logs. We have their logs, plus we have the Emergency Communications Center logs as well that are available to us.
There doesn't seem to be a compelling need by the community or a safety issue for the community, and we don't have the data to know whether there's been a change in traffic patterns to take a look at whether there needs to be adjusting of the borders for the emergencies. I'm all in favor of growth for Chapman. It's a capitalistic way to grow, but I'm not in favor of taking away, taking property and zones from other people for one company to favor one company to grow. It seems to me this commission looks at, from the community perspective, is there safety? Is there failure to respond to emergency calls? And we don't have that today.
I agree with you.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we decline the request by Chapman to obtain portions of Martin Zone and A.B. Collier zones.
I second. Oh,
Go ahead.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll resume the remainder of the public hearing regarding the annual emergency wrecker zone assignment hearing. I won't ask those who've already spoken to speak again unless you'd like to. I'll call Brown's Wrecker Service.
Gary Brown, Brown's Wrecker.
Hello.
Everything's going good in my zone. I'm hearing about crossing through zones, but that happens all the time. I've been coming up here 39 years. I've tried to get a little more, but, you know, as long as you're maintaining what you got, doing a good job, everything's usually good. I'd like to have more just like anybody else, but seems like all the emergency companies doing a good job in Nashville right now, as far as I know, from what I've heard. And I just really appreciate being able to service my zone in Madison. And Madison Precinct, the Hermitage sector has been really good to me, so no complaints. I just appreciate being able to service it.
Thank you. Carter's Wrecker Service.
I'm Jimmy Carter, run Carter's Wrecker Service in Jordan. I don't have any complaints. I appreciate the opportunity to serve you. And if y'all got any complaints with me, let me have them, because to my knowledge, I don't have any. If y'all don't have any, it's going to be good. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Thank you.
Roadmaster Cotton's Towing.
Hey, I'm David Williams with both Cotton's Towing and Tow Pro. Just like to thank the city for the opportunity to serve Nashville and the greater public. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. All right, I'll say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This looks like a freaking job.
Dad's Towing Service. Would you like to speak?
Mm-hmm.
I'm Chase Mitchell. I'm the general manager for Dad's Towing. We appreciate the opportunity to serve the community. I don't think we have any complaints. I'm pretty sure that we don't. We help everybody out pretty good, and we all seem to work pretty good together. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donaldson Wrecker Service.
How you doing? I'm Keith with Donaldson Wrecker Service. I'm the general manager. We have no complaints. We appreciate you letting us service our zone. We've serviced one since 1969. And as far as I know, we have no complaints.
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
You seem to have one of the sections that, boy, you can't get there by even being in Davidson County. Aren't you part of the south side of Percy Priest Lake?
Yeah, I believe we are.
That's the pink one there? And a little bit of Bear Island there?
Let me see. I'm not sure what you're talking about here. I didn't bring my glasses. I can't even see this map.
Well, the map I'm looking at looks like you've got one of the islands in the middle of Percy Priest Lake, and then a section over there that looks like you got to go to Wilson County to get to.
Yeah, we do have to go somewhere on Hopkins Pike to get to an area.
Yeah,
we probably get a call over once or twice a year.
You have a lot of calls for Bear Island?
No.
Yeah, you're not towing boats, are you?
Not yet.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hillwood Wrecker Service. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Murdy Shope, owner and operator of Hillwood Wrecker. We've been out there 60 years. Thank y'all for serving on this board. We were actually in this before we had a board, and believe it or not, we followed the ambulance out, which was better so and wood. But anyway, it's so much better anymore, so thank you. We service our area well, and we're told by the officers that we do, and they appreciate us showing up within the 30 minutes, which we can serve at we can get there at any point within the 30 minutes. We have actually really good clientele as far as people. There's not hardly a week goes by that I don't come in and find maybe flowers on my desk or candy or cookies. So that tells me that we are serving the community. That tells me that. So anyway, but we appreciate that. But we are always there for people when they have an accident. We are there to help them if they need something to drink, if they need an aspirin, or if they need a phone call made. We do all that for them. As a matter of fact, sometimes we have to pray with them, and we do that too. So anyway, we enjoy our work. We're family. We enjoy it, and I appreciate the zone, and I appreciate working with all of you.
Thank you.
And I don't think I have any complaints that I know of. Thank you, Mr. Fields. We appreciate you.
Ms. Martin, do you want to speak for Mike's Custom Towing as well?
I'll make it short and sweet, but I did want to thank y'all again for letting me. I kind of was on a little defense mode there when I come up the first time because I was just kind of a little frazzled for a minute, but I do want to appreciate you guys letting me to continue to run the emergencies. I also would like to tell Billy, I haven't had to call him a whole lot, but I have had to ask him a couple of questions. I also would like to say to Jim Mitchell, and I know he's behind me and I'm looking at y'all, but I do appreciate him heading up the Davidson County Association. I feel like probably all of y'all know what that is, but every Tuesday night after we have this meeting, the record companies get together at Shoney's and we all just kind of throw things off of one another. And I think that's really good because it just helps better the city and we can, talk with one another just in general or whatever. I would like to ask, because I think all of the record companies are here, that some more of them show up for their input so that we can work better, more of us working better together. But I do appreciate him heading that up, and also this year working on the price increase for us. We appreciate that a whole lot, but appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you. Smith Car Care Center.
My name is Manuel Lopez with Smith's Towing. Unlike Hillwood, I hadn't received any flowers, cookies, or candies. But I do appreciate the opportunity to serve the North Nashville Metro Center area. And I don't believe we have any complaints. If we do, I'd like to be addressed, let them know. But other than that, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tommy's Wrecker Service.
She was in my way. I'm just kidding. I'm Tommy Goddard with Tommy's Wrecker Service. We appreciate the opportunity to serve each and every year. We try to do a good job, of course. Fast response time. I think we have a good rapport with our police department in our area. And all of our neighbors, we get along fine. Everything's fine. So it means a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goddard. West Nashville Wrecker.
Hi, Larry Boggs, West Nashville Wrecker Service. Once again, thank you very much for letting us continue on serving this great county. I don't have any complaints, but I have a suggestion. We all understand, several wrecker entities would like to get into the ECC. We're still running into some problems, and every once in a while you're going to have a car where the patrol car sets. They base that off the GPS. So I know me and Ms. Shope of Hillwood shares an intersection. So if the police car is sitting there, it would be my zone, but the car is sitting over here. We understand those. That's going to happen. But some of the heavy duties here lately, about 2 weeks ago, Martin's got the initial call for a tractor trailer overturned. They don't have heavy, so it should come to me. But the call went to Bailey's. Then Bailey said, we don't have heavy duty. It went to Dad's. Then Dad said, that's not our zone. That's 5 miles from our zone, when Metro had called them. And then Dad's called us. We called Metro to verify that this is where this wreck was, and it was, and we in our zone. I just think if we could get one time into the ECC and say, yeah, oh, yeah, no, and just look at it real quick. Some of us have talked about it at the association meeting that we have on Tuesday night. So if we could, that would be great. If any questions for me, if not, thank you.
Are you asking that we examine certain intersections?
No, sir. No, sir. We'd just like to get in and look at it first, because there is going to be, we know that. I don't think anyone has never not. We always had an understanding that if we get called into another person's zone, light duty, that we go ahead and run it so that the traffic doesn't, and then we turn around and say to Mr. Fields or the TLC that, look into it. Well, once again, we finally figured out it's where the police car is sitting. And if it's at a Kroger's parking lot and intersection, Kroger's up here, they'll pull up here and set while they're doing reporting. And we understand that. So no, we're not. We just like to go in and look one time at the map and see, is my zone correct on ECC? We don't know. Is anyone else's zone correct? And that's all we're doing is like to look. We're happy with all the other stuff. I mean, we know things are going to happen like that. So just a quick look at the map's all we're looking for. Because I understand their map is a little different than ours. I mean, the way it's projected up, it's not exactly like that, so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
As an explanation, the police department is dispatched to the GPS system. GPS system keys on the police car. The officer making the call, again, depending on the side of the intersection, the call could go to a different zone depending on where the car is parked. It is something that we've had conversation with the ECC about. We've had it with the police department. It's a challenge because if there were really if everybody had a hard boundary, a river, a railroad track, but some of them are clearly the center line of a street. Some of them are the end of an on or off ramp of the interstate. And it is sometimes a very close call. The truth of the matter is companies work very well together in most cases and are able to understand that it generally averages out. By the same token, if the emergency folks would like to meet at the Emergency Communications Center, I'm confident we could set up the meeting, and we have very large projectors, and we can ask them to come and basically go look around and see where those issues are and see if there are ways to correct it and make sure that we have limited mistakes.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding the emergency record zone assignments? At this point, we'll close the public hearing portion and now open it up to the commission to consider record zone assignments.
From what I hear, it sounds like nothing needs to be changed right now.
So do we accept them as is? Move approval to continue?
I make a motion to keep the emergency zones as is.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have on the agenda a special meeting for consideration of applications for ADA accessible taxi cabs. Mr. Fields.
This particular meeting is requested, is based on your action from May. You agreed that there was a need for additional ADA accessible taxi cabs in Nashville. You also agreed that each existing company could, if they chose, make application for as much as legal would say 110% of the fleet. I would say 10% more, but they could have additional taxi cabs if they made application, if the applications were in order. I put together a list for you that would show what those applications were. All the companies except for one made application for additional taxi cabs that would be ADA compliant. So the staff has for years been very interested in this issue. You heard last month the described need, and we certainly hope that you would approve those applications as made.
Mr. Fields, each of these companies that have made application we reviewed before several months ago.
You spent almost all of last year and the first month of this year looking at applications from all of these companies. There is one error on the list. I think Quick Cab was assigned 35 permits.
Green Cab.
Green Cab was assigned 35 permits instead of 25. So, but since they did not make application, it wouldn't affect the overall numbers. But it was an error on my part when I gave you that list.
Do you feel all these applications are in order?
I do. And I think the companies are energetic, and many of them have plans ready to go. I'm not so sure they won't roll cabs out tomorrow afternoon. I'm not sure, but I believe it's possible if you approve.
If you could remind me, did we set a timetable of once approved, how long it would be until they're on the streets, or did we not?
We did not on the ADAs, and that'd be staff recommendation, is we don't put a time limit on it, just because there is a great deal of expense involved, and some of the companies may be able to put, if they were awarded 4, they might be able to put one on now and one on next month, and maybe one in 4 months.
Okay.
But if we'd leave this open for their use into the future.
Mr. Fields, I quickly looked at the applications for additional taxi cab permits, and I noticed that on at least a couple there were requests for more than 10%. Do we need to do anything with those?
I don't think so. I think the request, and the legal may correct me, but you only authorize the request up to the 10%, and I think that's all you can consider.
And Mr. Fields, what you're telling us is that what we have on our sheet is in compliance with that number?
Yes. But what you have are the current permits with, again, the one correction on green, and then using a rounding factor up, because I can't, for instance, American Music City has 95 permits. We can't give them 9.5 cabs, so we would round up to 10, again, to show that the demonstrated need in the city for the ADA.
Okay. I'm going to take a stab at this, and I'd like to make a motion that unless there's anyone on the commission that feels differently, I'd like to make a motion that we accept as recommended by Mr. Fields and the staff, the numbers that are listed on the sheet for ADA compliant cab licenses.
I think we need to hear from the public if anybody wants to speak, because it's a special meeting. Mr. Chairman, it would be in order, and the motion I'm not complaining about the motion. I mean, if anybody wants to speak to this issue, again, it would be a special meeting where they could. If they don't, then we've met your requirement of having an open meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. That was not clear from the agenda if I needed to ask for any public comments, but Are there any members of the public that would like to speak regarding our consideration of these ADA accessible taxi cab applications? Sir?
I'm Doug Trimble with Yellow Cab Metro. We wholeheartedly agree with this. Every year, the managers of the cab companies work these CMAs. I met this nice gentleman who lived in the Sturts Ferry area. He was limited to a wheelchair. We got him picked up every night. He had, tickets for every night, package deals. Me and him is discussing, how easy it is for him to get transportation. I don't have the exact numbers, but anywhere from 15 to 20 is the number that we have as far as ADA accessible taxis right now. Most of these are used for contract business such as TNCare, MTA, and he said he had trouble getting transportation. We're ready to do our part to put some of these on the streets. The more they are, the easier this man's going to get transportation. So, he was there every night. We got him picked up between the combination of efforts from a couple different companies, and we need these really bad, and we're ready to help Billy and get these things on the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Members of the Commission, I'm Jerry Lee, the Nashville Bar. I'm here on behalf of TNCAB. Asking a lawyer if he'd like to speak is a little like asking a surgeon if you need an operation. But I just want to take the opportunity to tell you it's a pleasure to be here as an existing carrier instead of an applicant. My people are profoundly appreciative of the trust you showed in them by granting them 35 permits, and they wanted me here today to express to you that on the record that if you are in the business of considering handing out additional permits, they always want to be considered. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak on this issue? All right, we will close the public hearing portion of the special meeting and go back to deliberating and consideration of motions.
If we have that motion still on the table, I'll second it. Probably everybody else will too.
I might need to ask legal if that motion's still on the table or not.
It might be better to
All right.
restate it.
I will make a motion that we accept the numbers given to us by staff for additional licenses under the auspices of ADA cabs.
Do you mind reading from the list the number of additional ADA cabs?
Mind. American Music City Taxi, 10 additional. Checker Cab, 11 additional. Quick Cab, 3 additional. Allied Cab, 11. Nashville Cab, 8. 1-800 Taxi, 4. 10 Cab, 4. United Cab, 7. Volunteer Cab, 5. And Yellow Cab, 13, for a total of 76.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, one point of clarification. One of the things that we would have is, again, Taxi USA operates as one company, so as you did with their last ones, they may move them around just a little bit, as long as it's within the company, is what we agreed to at the last time. I want to make sure that we were clear on that.
I understand.
I apologize for interrupting. I do that too often. I apologize.
We have an existing motion on the table. Mr. Fields has pointed out a distinction regarding Taxi USA for the panel, or excuse me, for the commission to consider. There's already been a second to the motion. All those in favor of the motion as currently worded, say aye. Those opposed, say no.
No. No. All right. I will make a motion that we accept or permit the following ADA accessible cab licenses. American Music Taxi, 10. Checker Cab, 11. Quick Cab, 3. 10 Cab, 4. United Cab, 7. Volunteer Cab, 5. Yellow Cab, 13. And let me do the math. Is 23 correct?
Yes.
Taxi USA, 23. for a total of 76.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, this is not on the agenda, but we have a special announcement regarding Green Cab. Mr. Fields?
Yes, Green Cab wanted to make a request. There's an issue. They're at their deadline for bringing all of their cabs on. As of this afternoon, there will be 27 cabs fully inspected and ready for the road. They will make them 4 short. They've requested a 30-day extension. They really think they're probably needing just a few days, but as they've pointed out, they've had some issues with some of the hybrids in terms of the availability of the hybrids, so they've also worked with some compressed natural gas vehicles as well. And Ms. Grant is here from Green Cab if you need to speak directly to her.
I can make a motion that we allow, I make a motion that we allow the extension for 30 days.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You may say anything you'd like, but.
Thank you. I'm Melinda from Green Cab. I'm the manager, and thank you for allowing me to speak before you today. And also, we wanted to thank you for so graciously granting our permits to us in January. So I really don't need to go with my speech, but I did print out a few things for you, if I may. Sure.
Yep.
Green Cab is unique because not only are we bringing environmentally friendly taxi cabs to Nashville, but we've also installed each of them with a new GPS system. And a quote from Abraham Lincoln, "Determine that the thing can and shall be done, and then we shall find the way." And we found the way. We just need a little bit more time. We're actually thinking possibly 15 days, but we would like to request 30, just to be sure.
Thank you. I don't think we need to hear any more, given that we've granted your motion. So you've got 30 days. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, we've got Wrecker Towing Service new company application from Camel Towing.
Yes, Camel Towing has made application to be a general wrecker company. Their permit is in order, their request is in order. The ordinance requires that the commission approve it, or that the commission hear it. I can't grant permit.
Fellow commissioners, I believe everyone's had a chance to look at Camel Towing's application. Is there a motion regarding that application?
Make a motion that we approve Campbell Towing.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item, we have new driver applications for several drivers. Mr. Field.
Yes, all of the applications are in order. We would like to take Russell Porter out to appear separately, but other than that, the others are in order, and staff has no problem with approval.
I believe the commission has had an opportunity to look at these applications. Do we have a motion with the other drivers except for Mr. Porter?
I make a motion to approve the new driver applications from Michael Brewer, David Coles, Arani Gaines, Tyrone Gooch, Christopher Kelly, Jimmy Mays, Paul Rigsby, Mark Ryman, and Christopher Searby.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Fields, I believe you said Mr. Porter was here to be present at the meeting?
Yeah.
Afternoon, Mr. Porter.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead.
My name is Russell Porter. I'm a recent transplant from Jackson, Tennessee, where I operated records for the last 3 years. I had hired on with Alcar here in Nashville to repossess vehicles. due to the fact that you have to pay your own fuel, I won't make any money over there, so I'm going to be looking for work with another one of these fine record companies around here. But I'll still need my permit to do that. If y'all have any questions, fire away.
Commissioners, are there any questions?
Mr. Porter, I have a few questions. You filled out this application, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were asked to list arrest or convictions or pending charges?
Yes, sir.
All right. You've listed 8 in the application, the copy of the application I have here. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure what it means on some of them where it looks like it's ARR period, and then it will say something like criminal impersonation or driving unsuspended or theft. What's the ARR?
An arrest.
An arrest. Okay.
The case is not. The case was just disposed of last week in Madison County Court.
I'm sorry?
The case was still open when I filled that out, but it was disposed of last week in Madison County Court.
Okay, well, the first 6 ones have ARR, meaning arrest.
Yes.
It's listed here.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one is the arrest, driving unsuspended, then it looks like criminal impersonation, and in parentheses after it says DA is going to throw out.
Yes.
All right, is that the one you talked about where it was dismissed last week?
Well, it was not dismissed. I took a best interest plea. It was turned down to a misdemeanor, and I was given a $50 fine.
On the criminal impersonation?
Yes.
Okay.
The driving unsuspended was thrown out. It was dismissed.
What is it that you were impersonating?
Myself, I guess. I had given an improper Social Security number. I didn't never memorize my Social Security number, and I gave him the wrong number. I gave him the correct name, address, told him the truck I was driving was registered to me. The officer decided to charge me anyways.
This is over in Madison County?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you pled guilty?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then it says arrest for theft, and then you got parenthetical no bill. Does that mean no true bill?
Yeah, it was dismissed for lack of evidence because I didn't do it. There was no evidence.
This is in Chester, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
What county is that in?
Chester County, Tennessee. That's directly south of Jackson or Madison County.
Okay. What's the county seat?
Henderson.
Henderson,
Where Freed-Hardeman University is.
So the grand jury did not indict on that, and there was no true bill?
Correct.
All right. Then you got arrest for possession paraphernalia, April 2012?
I took a best interest plea on that one.
When you say best interest plea, are you saying an Alfred plea or a guilty plea or what?
It's a guilty plea to avoid harsh punishment. I was given a $200 fine and just no probation, no jail time.
What was the paraphernalia?
It was a board game that had.
What?
It was a board game that had references to drugs.
Then there's an arrest for vandalism, vehicle accident in McNairy County.
Yes, there was an instance where somebody was threatening my life, and I backed into their vehicle, and I as well got arrested for it, but that was also dismissed.
In 2011?
Yes, sir.
All right, then you got arrest for theft, and then again, no true bill. I guess is what it means, no bill down in Madison, Tennessee,
Yes.
right? What were you charged with stealing?
It was some jewelry that a girlfriend had me pawn so she could cover some hot checks, and I went and paid the hot checks, and that's what got it no billed because I had receipts where I paid the money on her checks that she bounced.
So she charged you with the theft of the jewelry?
Yeah, she was trying to.
And back up there in July of 2012, the arrest for theft. What were you charged with stealing on that one? Where there was no true bill?
A gas can and 5 gallons gas.
Then several speeding tickets that you kind of grouped together. But then there's it says worthless check dismissed out of Chester, Tennessee.
Yeah, I had a check for $6 bounced at a local gas station for a drink and a candy bar and something else, and I was unaware that it bounced, so I got charged with it before I could get it taken care of.
Okay. Are you aware that we got a TBI criminal history record on you?
I'm sure you did.
Okay. Your date of birth, April 24th, 1979?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I got several names here, but are you Russell Alvin Porter?
The third, yes, sir.
The third, okay. In Pinson, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
Is that where you live now?
No, sir. I'm living here in Nashville at the out by the airport.
Were you arrested, or did you plead guilty on December 13th, 2005 to theft of property. Got 11 months, 29 days, and a $50 fine.
I don't remember.
What were you on community corrections for? Those are usually felonies.
No, I've never been convicted of a felony.
Were you on community corrections?
Yes, I was on probation, but I thought it'd been a lot longer in 2005, and I don't remember which one of those.
The community corrections one says 2003. The 2005 is the theft, a misdemeanor theft, because it's 1129 with a $50 fine, but that was 2005. I'm asking about the community corrections that's out of 2003.
Out of 2003. Honestly, sir, I don't remember which case that was associated with. I did the best I could to remember all the little things that come along in my life. That's one reason why I moved out of that area of the country. I was having trouble, and I came to Nashville to get back on my feet and try to turn over a leaf and be a more productive member of a society.
When did you do that?
I moved here about 3 months ago.
Okay. So in September 2012, do you remember being charged with driving on a revoked suspended driver's license?
Yes, that was part of the case that just got disposed of last week. That was dismissed.
Okay, that's the one with the theft, the driving?
No, that was the one with the criminal impersonation.
Okay. What about the theft of property on August 3rd, 2012? What happened in that case?
That got no billed.
Okay.
Lack of evidence.
And then the possession of drug paraphernalia from February 16th, 2012?
I took a guilty plea and a $200 fine to make it go away.
That was the board game? That was the board game?
That was the board game, yes, ma'am.
What about the simple possession that you pled guilty to and took 1129 to serve and a $250 fine? What's that about?
They had a pack of cigarette papers that they found in my vehicle. I got stopped for a noise ordinance violation because my stereo was too loud. And they found a pack of cigarette papers and no tobacco, and they charge you with paraphernalia. And the simple possession on there, I don't know why they charged me with that one.
Well, it does show that paraphernalia was dismissed, but it says you pled guilty to the simple possession and got 11 months, 29 days to serve. And that's on February 24th of 2012, a little over a year ago.
That should come back as dismissed. That whole case was dismissed on payment of $200 fine. There were two charges with it. One was possession of paraphernalia, and one was simple possession. And that was supposed to have been dismissed on a $200 fine and court costs.
What was the filing a false report about?
I bought a vehicle from an old lady in Jackson, Tennessee that was, I didn't know it at the time, but it was registered to her recent husband who had passed. And somebody stole the vehicle from me, and when I filed the report, I reported that I owned the vehicle. And it had actually not been registered with the state, so they charged me with entering false public records is what I was charged with.
What was the outcome?
They gave me a $7 fine and court costs. That was in Chester County, Tennessee.
And we talked about the theft of property in 2005 that you pled guilty, got $1129 and $50 fine, but you don't remember what it was about?
That was the gas can. No, that one got thrown out.
2003, March of 2003, you were convicted of passing worthless checks. Says you pled guilty, took $1129, supervised probation.
Yeah, that was like that $6 check for those snacks at the gas station that I didn't realize had bounced until I was hooked up for it.
You pled guilty?
Yes, I did.
And then there was another charge of violation, 3 months earlier, violation of check law. What was that about?
A man bought a car from me and wrote me a hot check, and I didn't know that I should check with his bank that it was good, and I deposited in my bank, and I went writing checks on it, and I had a round of bad checks. It was a total of 36 checks. 2 of them I failed to catch and was charged with. I did clear them up as quickly as possible, paid restitution and fines and costs immediately.
Pled guilty and got 11 months, 29 days?
Yes. Pled guilty and was given no probation or jail time, as I recall.
It says here that the 1129 was suspended except for 2 days to serve.
Yeah, I think I got arrested on a Friday evening and was in jail all weekend before I could bail out, so they gave me time served on one of them.
And this may be the same case, but it says January 5th, 2003, violation check law, convicted, confinement, or fine.
Yeah, they fined me. I recall a $6 bad check cost me about $700 when I was done. So now when I open a checking account, I tell them to keep the paper checks.
And it looks like the other drug charges in 2002 and the possession of paraphernalia were dismissed. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. Now going to, and I'm sorry to have to put you through all this.
Oh, this is quite all right, sir.
In 2000, you were convicted of theft of property and given 11 months, 29 days probation and a fine. What was that about?
I don't recall, sir. That's been quite a while back when I was younger and pretty dumb.
Okay. Is there any reason you failed to put many of these convictions on your application?
Just simply not remembering them. As you can plainly see from that report, I've had a lot of trouble. A lot of it has been very little, very stupid trouble that really had, it's just been aggravation over there. That's why I'm trying to get away from the people I was with and the trouble I was around over there. And they just simply slip my mind.
Mr. Porter, I'm going to be very candid with you. In your application, you put down all the ones that were no true bill or dismissed, but you failed to put most of the ones that you were convicted of. The ones that you could put down there saying that were thrown out or dismissed or the grand jury didn't indict you, you didn't have any trouble remembering. But the ones that we just spent the last 15, 20 minutes going through on this TBI record of convictions didn't make it into your application.
There are several of those that should have come back dismissed. I don't recall having a couple bad checks and one theft charge that should be coming on there, and that possession of paraphernalia and simple possession. The rest of those should have come back dismissed. And this is not the first time I have found errors with Madison County or Chester County, Tennessee's record keeping. Right now, Madison County General Court Clerk will tell you I have a speeding ticket that a trooper gave me in 1997 that I did not pay. In all reality, my license was suspended for failure to satisfy over that ticket way back then. I satisfied it and reinstated with the state, paid a reinstatement fee and all that. So the state says I'm clear, but Madison County has lost records where I took care of it, and they're saying I owe it again. They have a very serious record-keeping problem. And if you look into Chester County, the comptrollers have been crawling all over them because they can't keep anything straight down there.
You have been working for whom in Nashville? Huh?
Alcar,
Okay.
National Recovery over on Nolan's Lebanon Pike.
Operating a wrecking truck?
Yes.
Okay, and you've had a permit to do that?
Yes.
Issued by?
You all.
Non-consent?
A temporary permit.
A temporary permit, yes. It expires today.
Okay.
Consent or non-consent, Tony?
Is it consent or non-consent?
Non-consent.
Non-consent. Okay. Oh, that's to repo.
Yes, I've only been
repossession. Okay. And in Madison, before moving to Nashville, you were working with a company?
Yes.
Mr. Fields, have there been any complaints during the temporary on Mr. Porter?
No.
Are we aware? Have you had complaints in Madison County?
No, sir.
Okay.
How long were you working with Alcar?
I worked at Alcar for approximately 12 days, in which I spent $1,500 on fuel and was paid roughly $950. That's not making money.
How old are you?
I'm 34 years old, sir.
Married?
No, sir.
Children?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the commissioners? Thank you, Mr. Porter. You may be seated.
Thank you.
We've heard from Mr. Porter, and it appears that he has acknowledged that there are several things on his application that were not disclosed, as pointed out in the TBI report. In the past, we have, as a commission, denied applications when they do not contain or fully disclose all information that should be disclosed, just as a matter of course. I don't know if the commission wants to consider doing that here or not. Is there a motion regarding Mr. Porter's application for a new driver application?
I'll make a motion that to approve Mr. Porter's application. I do not have the history that most commissioners here have as to whether to not approve someone who's not completely candid on their report. But the gentleman says he's moved here to try to make a new start. We've given a temporary one to him. There's been no complaints. I question maybe the candor in response to some of these, some of this information contained in the TBI report, but I don't know. I'm willing to stick my neck out and make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes, 1 nay. Next on the agenda, we have a request for non-consent towing permit for Copeland's.
Excuse me, I don't think he heard. He understood what just happened. You may want to reiterate to him that he was awarded his.
Good afternoon. I'm Mitchell Copeland with Copeland.
Hang on, Mr. Copeland. Mr. Porter, just in case you didn't realize, your application was granted, so congratulations.
Am I allowed to add one more thing?
Sure.
Not to the motion. Mr. Fields, is there some way that your office can keep a close eye on Mr. Porter, or ask that his company or whatever keep an eye on it?
He does not have he will not be working for Alcar. When he comes in for his permit, what we'd ask is that we know that we need a company to issue the permit.
And if there's any arrest of him, can that come to this commission immediately? Good luck, Mr. Porter. Good luck.
Mr. Copeland?
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Mitchell Copeland with Copeland's Towing and Recovery. I'm here today to see if y'all could grant me my non-consent. I had them a few years ago with no complaints. Just a piece of property I rented. The owners of the property had moved away to Clarksville, Tennessee, and had sold a piece of property. So therefore, I didn't do a non-consent anymore, so I didn't renew. So I've actually taken over a lease on a piece of property at 525 26th Avenue North to start not doing my non-consent again, and that's why I'm here today.
Mr. Fields, is everything in order with regarding it to the application?
By your rule, you require any company doing non-consent tow must have at least a year's experience as a licensed company, which Mr. Copeland would meet. It also must be have no complaints or problems that would preclude him from doing those services, and he also complies with that. You know, non-consent towing, and as Mr. Copeland knows, is one of those areas that can be a major problem.
It can.
And staff looks to the non-consent towing companies and watches very closely and works with them very closely, and any issues always come back to the commission.
Definitely, yeah. I've actually, I've worked for towing companies, that did non-consent, and I've worked for some of the big towing companies like AB Collier and Tow Pro that did non-consent, and I'm just here today to see if y'all could grant me my non-consent so I could grow over the years to come. I've been in the towing for going on about 20 years, and just see if y'all grant me my non-consent.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland.
Mr. Copeland, I have a question. Have you read the rules for non-consent towing through the commission?
I have.
And you thoroughly understand?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion regarding Mr. Copeland's application for non-consent towing permit?
I move for approval.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Copeland, congratulations. Next on the agenda, we have a taxi cab driver permit request from Abdullahi Abduli. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Fields.
Mr. Abdul has made application to get a taxi cab permit. He had held a permit previously. However, the last time he appeared at the commission, May 24, 2011, I shared it with you. There had been some issues of drug charges involving cot. You may or may not recall that cot is a illegal drug that is in his native country, probably explain more, is used extensively, is my understanding. Because it was illegal on 2 charges, the commission chose on that day to deny the permit. Anytime the permit is denied, if the application is made again, it automatically comes back to the commission. That application was denied May 24, 2011.
Does cot show up on a standard drug test?
I think so. I'm not. I don't know that answer.
Mr. Abdullah, I remember when you came to see us on May 24, 2011. I was here. Are you still using cot?
No, I'm not using it. That was my birthday. I just learned it and I regret it. I promise I will never do that again. I'm just a human. I'm admitting a mistake. And that was my biggest mistake.
Mr. Fields, in the TLC's files, were there any other notes on this applicant?
There was no other activity that I'm aware of other than since the 2011 meeting. And again, we have his background check came back, and it indicates that prior to that meeting, he had a problem with a probation violation 4 months prior to that meeting, but there's nothing on his criminal record since.
Is your drug screen from May 17, 2013?
Last month, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I would like to mention one more thing. I would like to have a drug test every month until you guys say so, and I pay for it.
Did you bring someone with you that for a company that you're going to work with?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
They're here to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hi, Commission. I'm Robbie with a Quick Cab. He worked for me the first time he was in probation, and he met all his drug tests every month, and he passed them. I haven't worked with him since, and I am going to accept him in if you guys allow his permit. But the first time he was in trouble, he met, I think he was on a probation, and he was with United, and he met all his drug tests. That's all.
can make a motion if you'd like.
All right.
I make a motion to award him, to accept the application and award him the permit.
That's second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We also have an other passenger for hire permit request from James Whitfield. Mr. Fields.
Mr. Whitfield has requested that we defer action on this until the July meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Is there any other business, commissioners? That concludes our agenda for today. Is there a motion regarding adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes.